Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. A lot has happened, a lot has changed since the last time I made a video. First, I graduated pharmacy school. So I'm all done. I graduated this past May. Since then, I've taken Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I know it's been a long time since I posted a video, and yeah, a lot has changed since I made a video here on YouTube. I have since graduated pharmacy school, so yay! Done. And just last week I took my law exam. I had originally planned to take my NAPLEX first, but there weren't a lot of dates available by the time I got my ATT, which is the attestation to test. I got that just 2 weeks ago, and so I decided to take my law first. So I scheduled my law exam 7 days prior to the day that I wrote the exam. And so I had exactly 7 days to study for my exam, and I took it last Wednesday, and today is also Wednesday, June 29th. And so today is also the day that I found out that I passed. Yay! So I just figured I would just make a quick video and sort of show you guys the things that I used to study, because I remember when I was studying, I was running around looking for the best resources, just asking people, because I didn't know what to study. I didn't know how to study for the exam. And so since I've passed, I feel like, I can share with you guys what I used and what helped me and how I studied for the law exam, the Maryland law exam, which I've heard is one of the hardest, along with California. It's one of the hardest law exams. It was very tricky. There's still some questions up till now that I can't find an answer to. Like, even with my notes, like, I've looked through, and reading the book is one thing, but being able to interpret the question and analyze what they're asking for is something completely different. And so there's questions now that even with this law book, I still don't know what the right answer was, because it's not explicit, it's not clear. And so that was how majority of the exam was. So I was very, very surprised that I passed. Oh my goodness. Honestly, the hardest thing after taking the exam is waiting for your score. And so waiting 1 full week, exactly 7 days, until I got my score. And so yeah. Let's get into it. The first thing that I had was the Feder's Pharmacy Law book. So I actually didn't start studying this because this book is very bulky, and it's this is the book that I got my 3rd year pharmacy school when I was taking the law class. So I actually had this book already. It's a lot. Like, the beginning chapters are more of like a summary, but then if you want to go to the actual law, it's in the back. So it's a lot of flipping back and forth. The beginning, like, will list something and then give you the reference, and maybe you want to go to the back and read more detailed, because the beginning is just a summary of the law. It's more like, in paragraph form, and like sort of easier to digest, but again, it's not the full law. And so you have to actually go to the back of the book, which actually has the full law, the Code of Maryland regulations, and it also has health occupations, those chapters, and then it also has controlled substances chapters. So to be honest with you, I didn't use this book as much. It was just a lot to go through. It was I feel like possibly everything is in here, but it was just, to me, very confusing to study from this book, because I would be reading a chapter and then, like, maybe I want clarification, I gotta go to the back and find it. And so it was a lot of flipping back and forth. I feel like my studying was all over the place when I was studying from this book. I did use it here and there, but I wouldn't say that this was everything I used. So I used a lot. So I also had the federal law summary from RX Prep, and I would say that this book really helped me. I started with this book, but I didn't finish it. I did maybe like 4 chapters, and then I sort of like switched to everything, because another thing is this book is just federal law, and so it's very general. It's not specific to your state. And so a lot of the things I was reading was just like refer to your state for specifics. You know, some states do this, some states do that. It was more of, hey, it could be this, it could be that, but I didn't have any specifics. And so I dropped this book after like 4 chapters. But looking back now, if I were to, you know, start studying all over again, I would go back and start with this book. So I had the videos as well on RX Prep. So the videos are pretty much the book, almost word for word, but it's only like 9 chapters. And so what I would do, it's very feasible to be able to do this book in a few days. It's very feasible. You can do 2 chapters a day and be done in 3-4 days, even less than that, if you know you're studying all day. I would start with this book and sort of go through all the chapters and have that foundation, because while I did I came back to this book like the night before the exam, and I found there were a lot of things that I was looking for clarification on, or just a lot of things that I missed that were in the book. So federal is important. I think this would just be a good foundation to lay. Start with this book and then go to your state and study state specific things. So in the beginning it might be a little frustrating because you're like, oh, you know, it's not specific to your state, but go through everything, because there are some things that your state don't address that this book will address. So that was the biggest thing, that this book does address some things that your specific state might not address because it's a federal law. And so there's that. Another really helpful tool was the pharmacist DEA manual. This is free, it's online. You can just like Google it and download it. And I printed it out. You don't even have to print it out. But I divided it into 3 sections. It's about 100 pages, I would say 104 pages. And so this was a nice read for me. I mean, I could carry it around, take it to work with me, etc. when I had free time. So I printed mine out and I read the whole thing. And so that's what I would recommend, just reading this DA manual. A huge part of the exam is controlled substances. Keep in mind, this is federal as well. This is federal, it's not specific to your state. So there are some things that your state will, you know, for example, prescription records should be kept for 5 years. But this manual would say like keep CDS records for 2 years. So it's sort of like CDS, prescription records for 2 years. So there are some things that differ, of course, with your state, but this is a very good foundation. And I would say, like, I feel like this was a huge part of the exam. Just controlled substances in general was a huge part of the exam. Almost like every 3 questions was about controlled substances. So if you can do your federal, then go to your DEA manual, you will do pretty well. And I would also say this book also had sort of a breakdown of how to study for the exam. It has a breakdown of the material. It tells you the format, 120 questions, 2.5 hours, the different type of questions, multiple choice, K-type. It also tells you what percentage, so area 1, so pharmacy practice, 83% of the exam. So that's a huge part of what you should be studying. Focus a lot on pharmacy practice. And then you have your licensure, registration, certification, and operational requirements. That's 15% of the exam. And then you have general regulatory processes, and that is only 2% of the exam. So that's helpful to know. Say, for example, those are the major laws and rules impacting the practice of pharmacy. That's things like the Kefauver-Harris Act, the Pure Food and Drug Act, the Durham-Humphrey Act. So those kind of things, in the beginning, I thought they were like super important. I tried to memorize what each one did, the years and everything like that. But based on this, it should only be about 2% of the exam. General major laws and rules impacting the practice of pharmacy. It's only 2% of the exam, so that sort of tells you don't focus too much on the details, but sort of like knowing generally what those laws and rules are about and how they impacted pharmacy. And so I think this was very helpful in just breaking down the exam, sort of letting you know what to prepare for. And so that is all about the federal. So you have the federal law book from RX Prep and the DEA manual. And then for the state-specific law, so I had a few resources. I had my pharmacy school slides, so the slides from school. So I went to school in Maryland, so my slides were sort of state-specific in the sense that they did have a lot of law. They did have a lot of federal law, but they also would highlight, oh, but in Maryland, this is what it is. In Maryland, we do this. And so that was helpful to just sort of go through that. And then I got this book. I borrowed this book from my pharmacist. And this is the Maryland Pharmacy Law book. And so this is a book that you can get directly from the Board of Pharmacy. The process to order it, though, is kind of annoying. You have to fill out a form and get like a check or mail order and then mail it to them and then they ship it to you. Or you can drive directly to the board. That's what I heard, that you can drive there directly and get this book. I believe it's $35. And it just has like it's all law. Like it's strictly law, just law. And with this book, I broke it down. So I mainly focused on the controlled drug substance chapters and the pharmacy regulations, COMAR 10.34. The rest I really didn't even look at. I'm not even sure what they were about, but I focused mainly on COMAR 10.34 and 10.19, which is dangerous devices and substances, which is like CDS. So there's that. Again, a lot of what is in here is what is in Faders in the back, but it was a little bit easier to read it directly from here. Just read the whole, law chapter, even though I do think it's the exact same thing. Again, this book was just intimidating. I don't know, it was just bulky and all over the place, and I often would be confused where to find what. And so for Maryland specific laws, I mainly use my slides, faders, and this law book. The last thing I would say is practice questions, practice questions, practice questions. Do lots and lots of practice questions. I did some practice questions on pharmacyexam.com. I had some practice questions from my school. I purchased them from MPJE.com. So I do think that the practice questions are very helpful, and don't wait till the very end to do practice questions. Study a little bit, or study your DEA manual, do practice questions, because it's helpful to know how the questions are coming and how to study for them. And so in doing that, it sort of refined my studying and sort of showed me the things to pay more attention to. And then at the end, when I felt like I had gone through a lot of material, the night before, the day before the exam, all I did was practice questions, as well as watching federal law videos that I hadn't watched from the beginning. I did not intend this video to be this long, but that is how I studied for my MPJE, and thank God that worked for me. I really wasn't planning on taking it first, but I just scheduled it by faith, and I was worried, but I felt like I didn't have a choice, and so I took those 7 days. And so I would say I studied for 7 solid days, and in those 7 days I was doing at least 6 hours a day. I know that one of the days I went to work, but from Thursday up until Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 6 full days of studying. So from Sunday up until Tuesday, I was studying pretty much all day. I would say maybe if you combine all the times, without my breaks and maybe taking naps, 6-7 hours. I mean, more than that probably, honestly. Just watching videos and doing practice quizzes and looking at different reference materials, looking at different slides. And I will say it took me a while to sort of figure out what to focus on. I felt like I was just jumping here and there, jump here, start the slide deck, don't finish it, jump to the faders, don't finish it, jump to federal law. And so it was just jumbled. I would say after 3 days, when I felt like, okay, kind of getting it, and so I sort of knew things to better focus on. But yeah, if you're studying for the law, just take it easy. Just go through as much material as you can. Give yourself time if you need it. Pray and hope for the best. And I wish you all the best as well. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment down below. You can reach me. I believe my email should be in the description box. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel. I'm looking forward to posting more. If you guys have recommendations on things that you want me to discuss. I know pharmacy school is over, and you know, this is supposed to be more of like a pharmacy school journey channel, but we see how that went. And so if there's more that you guys want to learn about my journey through pharmacy school, let me know as well, and I'd be happy to share that information. So thank you for watching, and bye.